Good evening, everybody.
Say that again. Good evening, everybody.
That's better. Welcome to our FLARC guest speaker series here in December.
And before everybody runs off, from the standpoint of all the publicity, everybody on the publicity committee, happy holidays to everybody, and thanks for showing up. And just when you look tonight, okay, what a great turnout on an odd night for us, and obviously with the holidays. So thank you all for being part of these programs. So, okay. So, as has been the course for the last 3 years, since we really got involved with these monthly speaker programs, we've tried to save the last program, the December program, to really sort of focus on league activities and just to get a voice from the league, and to sort of share what's going on. And obviously, we've had some. We had Tom, just 2 years ago, in terms of having the head of the league at that time, and then Mike last year. This year we've got Rob, KA2PBT, who's going to be talking tonight, from the standpoint of the Northern New Jersey section. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, there are 3 sections that are made up of the Hudson Division. But just in terms of looking at the field operation, and I'll be quite honest. I mean, for me as somebody who was stepping in, as the PIC, stealing a little bit here, about a year and a half ago, I really didn't know very much about the field operation. And if you're like me, you're probably in the same boat to say, what does everybody do and how does it work? And that's really the point of tonight's discussion. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Rob, KA2PBT.
So everyone, just a couple housekeeping things before we get started. I'd like to bring a little present for the club. So Van, since you're here, this is for your lending library. It is how to set up your first HF station.
Your first HF station?
Oh, right. So if there are any new members, any new hands, lend them to them as they get started.
Terrific, thank you.
The last time, the frequency charge went like hotcakes, so I brought a whole package.
Yeah, we need it. Put it right there.
Good. And some stocking stuffers while they last. I got ham stickers for your car and ARRL pens. So
Good. Whoa.
and everyone's running out. Last bit of information I have is this. You guys won Northern New Jersey.
All right.
I was trying to get the plaque so I could present it to you tonight, but logistically we just couldn't get it done in time. But I want to let you guys know before it became public.
Wow.
So you guys took first place in Northern New Jersey.
Well
Let
done.
me get my other presentation up. So, I'm Rob Roschewsk KA2PBT. I've been section manager for about 18 months now. I started office back in July of 2017. It's been fun getting around. Love coming to FLARC, especially when it's not snowing. It just seems that every time I was coming before that, I was stuck in a snowstorm, so I'll just take the thing. So I like to start from the base level for any kind of new hands that might be here. What is the ARRL? And the ARRL is a membership organization, meaning that it exists to bring people of a common interest together. And so that's our common interest being amateur radio. So some of the goals are serve the public in times of need, advocate for legal and legislative fairness, promote amateur radio, educate about amateur radio, and encourage technical advances. The ARRL is actually, if you happen to get QST and see the editorial that's being done by the new CEO, he kind of lays it out pretty well. The ARRL is actually 3 things. It is member services, it is a publishing company, a not-for-profit publishing company, and it's also a 501c3 charity. All right. Okay, so as far as member services, first and foremost, you have QST. QST is a premium journal dedicated exclusively to amateur radio. It has a high quality editorial process. It has a circulation of 160,000 at a time when other print publications are failing. QST continues to thrive, and that's largely because of its high journalistic standards. Beyond QST, as a member, you can subscribe to different e-newsletters. The ARRL letter comes out on a weekly basis, so that's more timely information than you might be getting from QST. There are DX bulletins that give hints on what kind of DX entities might be operating currently, propagation forecasts, section news that I try to get out on a fairly regular basis. As a member, you also have access to a technical information service. A lot of people don't know about this, but if you have some kind of technical question or some kind of operating question, you can email or call the league and they will try to work with you. Obviously, don't be calling them for what the formula is for a dipole, but if you're running into some kind of interference problem at home, maybe they can give you some ideas for tracking it down, or if you have some kind of interference problem with a neighbor and you're coming over their toaster oven or something like that, they might give you some tips on how to resolve that. The group insurance program is a really cool benefit. You can get insurance for your radio equipment at a very reasonable cost. Right now, I think it's $1.40 per $100 of value of replacement cost. So it's not a depreciated amount. For a couple of dollars a year, you could get full protection from either damage or theft of your equipment. The deductible is usually $25 if it's a repair or $50 if it's a replacement. So again, very affordable. So there is also the volunteer council program and the volunteer engineering program. And what the ARRL does, it keeps a roster of attorneys as well as civil engineers. So if you run into some kind of problem, amateur radio related, that you have to consult with an attorney, we have attorneys that have said that they will, for a free consult, talk to you. And the advantage is, since they're usually hams themselves, they have a better idea of what your problem is and how best to serve you. The consulting engineering program is more related to if you're putting up a tower or something and you need to make sure you're hitting all the building codes, they'll work with you. Outgoing QSL Bureau, another member benefit. For a nominal fee, you can batch up all your QSL cards and send them out at a fraction of what it would probably cost you to mail them directly. The going rate right now is $7 per submission plus $1.15 per ounce. If you batch it up right, for example, if you're sending out 200 cards, it'll probably come out to about 15 cents a card, which is far less than what international postage is these days.
That's only for international cards, right?
Right. It's the only time it really makes sense. So what does the ARRL contribute to the community, even if you're not a member? The volunteer exam program. The ARRL is a volunteer exam coordinator. It administers about 35,000 it administers tests for about 35,000 applicants a year. So it's one of the largest VECs. While the membership drives the agenda, the ARRL is the ARRL promotes legislative advocacy for all hams. So the membership sets the agenda, but everyone benefits. The ARRL has several sponsored contests. There's about 20 contests a year, ranging from sweepstakes to the International DX contest, 10-meter contest was just last weekend, 160-meter contest, VHF contest, microwave contests. There's about 20 of them that they sponsor. They also sponsor operating awards, most popular one being DXCC. There's also the Worked All States Award, which they sponsor, the Worked All Continents Award, VUCC, so several things, about 10 awards there. The ARRL likes to support local clubs. They encourage local clubs to become ARRL affiliated, and I'll talk about more of the benefits to that later on. ARRL Labs, the staff of the ARRL Labs are on various committees as far as electromagnetic coexistence. So they sit on an IEEE committee for RF, ANSI committee, and even I found out the SAE, so the Society for Automotive Engineers. So they're actually working interference issues with automobiles too. So we have representation there, and even though it's the ARRL doing it, it benefits everyone. So what is the field organization? The ARRL divides the country up into 71 sections. Usually it's a section per state. New Jersey being big enough, we're actually split into 2 sections, Northern New Jersey and Southern New Jersey. The members from each section elect a section manager, that would be me, and the section manager then appoints other positions underneath him that work the other different areas of the field organization. Effectively, the field organization is the boots on the ground for the ARRL. It's an extension of the ARRL headquarters. Like a local franchise, if you will. So headquarters is the one that has set up this framework, and they tell us how to staff it, and it's our responsibility as the field organization to staff these things and work with the local communities. So broadly speaking, the field organization breaks out into these categories: public service, traffic handling, public relations, technical topics, club coordination, youth activities, and the observer program. And there's an asterisk next to that, and I'll explain why later. So public service. The Amateur Radio Emergency Service is a program of the ARRL. It is an organization of volunteers that have committed to provide a public service in times of need. We have a section emergency coordinator who's specifically in charge of ARRL's activities within Northern New Jersey, and that is John Wyatt, W2VTV. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight. But John's experience is he is retired, and he spent most of his career in the Middlesex OEM, so he has extensive background as far as emergency operations and emergency communications. He was a good fit for the job. He was one of my first appointments when I took office. So currently we have 161 ARRL members on the roster. Northern New Jersey is divided up. John and I have chosen to divide Northern New Jersey up into 13 districts, each district getting a district emergency coordinator. That represents the 12 counties of Northern New Jersey, and if you don't know what counties I'm talking about, it's basically Middlesex, Monmouth, Somerset, Hunterdon, and everything up is Northern New Jersey. So 12 counties plus 1 extra district for Skywarn. So we have a DEC for Skywarn as well. As needed, if there are large municipalities that have very active ARRL groups, we will appoint an emergency coordinator for that municipality specifically, and they will report up through the DEC from that county. The most notable thing is we have a section ARRLsNet every second Tuesday of the month. It is on the W2SQ repeater out of Morristown. We have about 30 check-ins and usually 1 from every county. So it's a very active net so far. One new thing I want to talk about in the ARRL space is a application called ARRL Connect. This year, the ARRL has put together a database for tracking ARRL members as well as ARRL events and ARRL participation. Previously, there was an old, antiquated, inefficient, paper-based system where ARRL applications were written on paper, scanned, submitted, sat in someone's drawer, that person moved on, the papers got lost. Or you have the people wouldn't record their activities for a month, or John would spend a good portion of his time calling all the DECs, trying to get all their hours for the month to submit a report up to Newington. All paper-based. Now it's all going to be online. So ARRL members will register. They will put in their contact information. They will put in what kind of training they've got as far as ICS or any kind of ARRL-based training. And they will be assigned to their particular DEC or EC. The DECs and the ECs now will be able to have an online roster of people. They'll be able to have their contact information at hand. They'll be able to see what kind of qualifications their staff has. They can publish events on Aries Connect on a calendar. So you can, I think you guys do some kind of parade in Fairlawn. So an EC for Fairlawn, if there was one, could put an event on Aries Connect, send out an email to all the Aries members within that group. They could then register saying, yes, I'll be there, what times I'll be there. The best part is once that's over, the EC would then go in and record how much time each person spent. So now, at a moment's notice, we can see how much resources are being applied from the amateur community. So, and all that gets rolled up by the section nationally, and it should always be current. So, like any new system, it's painful, but I can see that once we've broken through the learning curve, and once people have formed, healthy habits as far as updating it, I think it's going to be very useful. Traffic handling. So NTS is a structure that allows moving messages around the country, around the world, using just amateur radio. It's basically a series of nets that go from local to regional to national. And it's either phone, CW, VHF, HF, and even automated systems. We're lucky that we have a section traffic manager, Jim Kutch, KA2PBT. He's been a net manager and a traffic handler for decades now. And he's been in the position for about a year now. And what is he? Unfortunately, he couldn't be here this evening, but he wanted me to let you know that traffic nets are alive and well. There are statewide HF phone nets and HFCW nets, as well as 3 VHF nets in northern New Jersey. The VHF nets serve as a training ground for new operators, but there's plenty of opportunity for seasoned operators as well as new operators. The best way to get started is to check into the daily VHF net, which also runs on WS2Q repeat. It is every day at 7:30, and check in and listen in and drop Jim an email, and he'll get you started. Public relations, so that's all about spreading the good word about all the fun that we have and all the great things that we do. I was fortunate, one of my first appointments, Ed Efchak, WX2R, is our public information coordinator, so he is your one-stop shopping for all public relation-based activities. Ed comes from a great background in public relations and the newspaper business. He's already made several trips to several clubs to talk to them on how to, boost their media awareness. And Ed, if you want to take over for 5 seconds.
Thanks, Ron. It's tough looking at me with a different hat, okay, but anyway. As Ron pointed out, the purpose of, there are 2 positions when you look at public relations within the section. Okay, I'm the public information coordinator, okay? I'm the face of the ARRL in terms of looking at the media. Good looking face, right? Say yes? Right? Okay, great. Yeah, but I mean, there's really, in a sense, it's a twofold responsibility. One is the sense is to maintain the image, a positive image of the league, not only for the public but also for the press. If there's any information that needs to be conveyed to the press, in a sense of looking at television, looking at radio, looking at intermedia, those types of things, is that I'm the first point of contact. Okay, in terms of looking at that relationship between the league and media, in this particular section. I also have a public information officer, a PIO, who in a sense works with me on the local level to be able to take care of local information requests. That person is Dawn Payne, AD2P, member of the Sussex Club, also someone who I work with in terms of media in a past life. As Ron pointed out, I mean, my background is in media and marketing. I suspect a lot of you know my background. I worked for North Jersey Media Group for about 35 years. I was the VP of Marketing and Strategy. I ran the in-house agency, ran an internal trade organization, in the media industry. So, in a sense, I bring a lot of connections Also currently on the board of directors for the New Jersey Press Association, which I think helps us in terms of our relationships, in terms of, sort of running shortcuts, in terms of, when people need to talk to us in terms of what's going on. And also New Jersey Ad Club, I'm a member as well too. So just in terms of looking at sort of that media industry conduit going on there. Since I've got a couple of badges here today, this is my first love, okay, I'm the PIO, thanks to Mr. Carl, W2KBF for appointing me, I guess 3 years ago. A lot of people don't realize that I was the public information officer back in the 1980s and 1990s. How many people remember Steve Mendelson, right? Okay, I was the PIO for Steve, okay, way back when. And I think when we went back through the records, when Rob asked me, I mean, we sort of looked to say, was there anybody else in between? And the answer was no. There was nobody really in a public information position here in the section for about 20 years. So in a sense, it's been a restart, and obviously, it's been a really good relationship in terms of sort of getting that first year off and running. I mean, the first year has been primarily, as Rob pointed out, in terms of getting around as to as many clubs as I can. Okay, obviously, the PR skill set is not necessarily one that every club has, particularly for smaller clubs. So it's really working with them, and we've gotten a lot of requests, from clubs to say, I mean, how do you do a press release? Something really basic in terms of, how do you get publicity? You need to how to do that, not be afraid in terms of having relationships with local media. So, that's part of Dawn's responsibility and my responsibility. And the other piece too is just, is understanding today that media is quite different than what it was 20 years ago when I sort of last did the position. There's a lot more fragmentation now, there's a lot more media out there. There's a lot more different, how's that for the PR guy? There's a lot of different points of contact, okay, that are quite different than they were with, looking at traditional media 20 years ago. So that's part of the relationship that, that we've been working on to try to grow that out, and sort of carry it forward. And just also just to close too is just, basically, I mean, I'll be honest, I mean, I was a reluctant appointee, okay, as Rob and I had a couple of lunches, because I did, if I'm gonna take this position, I'm gonna do the best job I can, okay? And, and obviously when you look in terms of, doing work here, in terms of being a PIO, running a business, and as to taking it on, but I told him, I said, my job was to get it off to a good start and do it. Okay, and also to look at 2 placements, okay? 2 placements in terms of getting 2 pieces of media contact in this, in the first year. And we were lucky, not only did we get 2, but we got 5, okay? Just basically, if you look, there was a laydown here, okay, just for Winter Field Day. Remember Winter Field Day? Okay, we got a piece in the Record in North Jersey Media Group. Okay, that was good because I knew people and we got it in very, very quickly. The other thing was looking at HAMSI. Okay, back in February is New Jersey Public Television. Did a story on amateur radio and looking at the relationship of citizen scientists and amateur radio. A really great story. It's going to actually be a nominee for one of the ARRL Media Awards next year, but I can't tell you that. But at least that's one of the things that are coming up. We also did a couple of pieces on Field Day, which is really a good story for amateur radio. Gannett, New Jersey picked up this for like a generic story on multiple clubs. Okay, in terms of what they did for Field Day, in terms of looking at public service, the fact that ham radio, yes, we still do that. Okay, and just sort of getting that message out. Okay, and what's going on, in the marketplace. And also the Newton Herald did a story on the Sussex Club, which was a good interpersonal story in terms of looking at the types of people who are involved in ham radio and what they do on that weekend. That helps you as a citizen. The last story that we did this year was also in terms of looking at Bridgewater, the Courier News, and their local website, which was a story that was done for the South Plainfield Club in terms of looking at what they did with ham radio in youth. Okay, so how they're working with scouts in the community, to be able to build out, amateur radio and obviously, sort of grow the character of kids and what goes on in terms of looking at radio science. That also became the story of a QST article, okay, as well, a couple of months back. Okay, so that was something that we leveraged not only for the consumer media, but we also leveraged back for the club in terms of trade media. So, a couple of things that we're looking at now is also sponsored content. Okay, actually looking at sort of non-traditional ways of placing media. If you saw the story a couple of weeks back here, everybody say yes on the antenna. Okay, on the antenna project that we ran for Tap Into. I mean, that was a real good example of sort of not necessarily pitching media, but placing media. Okay, and actually getting a real good story on, and the mayor played it back last week. Okay, in terms of what's going on here. So there's a lot of good things happening. So anyway, I mean, that's sort of my hat, okay? And, it's obviously, I won't say it's a work in progress. We've got a lot of things going. Okay, but, but one of, my, just looking in terms of my goal next year is if we can get 5 next year, we can get 6. And hopefully we can do a little bit better. And not only in terms of, sort of the traditional media coverage, but also what we're looking to do in terms of, hopefully getting New York television is a real tough placement, okay, to get anything done. Actually, there was one story that was done in New York last year. Yeah, John Allen, okay, exactly, okay, and that was done with, I think, the connections with Cablevision, or Optima at that time. And that's one of the goals that we're working on as well, too. We would have had a story on the space station, but obviously, because with the kids working the space station, but obviously that fell through, so we would have had 6. But anyway, that's my story, and hopefully it gives you a little bit better understanding in terms of the relationship. What I do here for the club is the PIO, and also what I do for the section in terms of the PIC. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. So technical resources. We also have a staff of technical people that can be used as a resource for anyone in the section. And we're fortunate that we have a technical coordinator who maintains a roster of technical specialists with different expertise. And I'm going to pass that over to our technical coordinator, Alan Wolke.
Okay, so that's me. So a little bit of bio for me, for those folks that don't know me. I'm not a member of this club, but I am a member of the South Plainfield Amateur Radio Club that we mentioned that did a lot of work and had it mentioned in the press recently. Also a member of the Ocean Monmouth Amateur Radio Club and the Raritan Valley Radio Club. But I'm an ARRL Life member. I'm a VE, originally licensed, I guess I was a junior in high school, 1980, AA2IZZ. But really kind of got involved with electronics as a teenager, messing around where I shouldn't have been messing around with electronics. So I remember experimenting, a quick funny story. Back then we didn't play with LEDs, we played with the neon bulbs if we wanted something to light up. And I remember having some neon bulbs that I had stripped out of a TV and a bunch of resistors, and I didn't know enough about Ohm's law to know what resistor should be in series with that neon bulb to make it glow a certain brightness. So I had my trusty extension cord, zipped out with 2 alligator clips on the end. I strung all my resistors together that I had, soldered them all together, and clipped one end on one end. And I worked my way down the resistors, watching the brightness of the bulb. And then I skipped the last resistor. So I had little molten pieces of glass that went all over my room, and I blew the fuse in the house, and I run to the basement real quick and replaced the fuse in the fuse panel before my mom figured out what happened. But that's how I kind of got started in electronics. Okay, so degreed engineer at NJIT in 1985, and I've been a design engineer, application engineer, test engineer, validation engineer for about 25 years, and then about 12 and a half years ago I joined Tektronix as a field application engineer. So that's kind of my professional and kind of electronics background. So, but as an RF field application engineer, I cover the whole northeastern part of the U.S. Northeastern part of the U.S. In fact, I met Brad originally about 12 years ago up at ITT, doing some support for some spectrum analyzers that he was working on, or working with. I do have a YouTube channel. Some of the folks might be familiar with that. I've got about almost 300 videos up on the channel, a little over 98,000 subscribers, a little over 12 million views on the YouTube channel. Most of the videos are geared around things that amateur radio people like. It's basic electronics tutorials, test and measurement tutorials. I have some actual ham radio videos up there. I've got some radio repair tutorials, things like that. So go check it out. It's just youtube.com/mycallw2aew. And if you need to get a hold of me, just w2aew@arrl.net. If anybody wants a reminder, I've got a couple of my QSL cards I could pass out to anybody who wants them. Got that same information. So that's a little bit about me. So let's talk a little bit about what my role is here. Okay. So mainly, there's a number of different things. I only listed a couple of them here. It's to coordinate a team of technical specialists, and we'll go over those in a few. And this is where not one person can know everything that might be needed to know to support everybody in northern New Jersey from a technical standpoint. So what I try to do is build a list of folks that I call technical specialists, or called technical specialists, that I can call upon when a particular question comes up that I don't know the answer to. I can point them at that technical specialist. And I'm always looking for more. So take a look at the short list that I've got, and folks that want to become a bit more of an Elmer and be a resource to the northern New Jersey section, let me know, and we can put you up on the list. It's a nice thing to be able to give back. Okay. So Also, to serve as a technical advisor to others and a focal point for questions. I got a question recently, I think it came in through Rob. We had a producer from the Travel Channel who was doing some research for a program that they were going to do on Amelia Earhart and some of the equipment that was used during her flight. And in one particular case, it was a radio direction finder from that time period. And they were looking for somebody who knew about that radio direction finder, how it worked, and actually could operate or demonstrate one, or maybe even find one. So Rob reached out to me. I reached out to some of my buddies at the Antique Radio Club, and found somebody who not only knew about it, but also found that we had one in the Radio and Technology Museum at the NJARC. We were able to put them in touch with the producer, and I think they might have gotten a free trip to Hawaii out of it. So it's a pretty cool thing. So another part of it, and part that I really enjoy, is presenting or coordinate technical talks. I was here back in the spring. I gave a talk on oscilloscopes, basics of oscilloscopes. It's a talk that I've given a half a dozen times to clubs in the tri-state area. I also gave a talk, as just another example, to the VHF conference, the Pack Rats, Eastern Pennsylvania Pack Rats VHF conference. I gave a talk there on Smith charts. So it's kind of a little bit of intimidating because in the audience was Joe Taylor. So try to get in front of an audience and have to speak in front of a Nobel Prize winner, it was a little intimidating, but that was kind of fun. But I enjoy doing that, and I do a lot of presentations and things like that for my job. So this is just part of the things that I really enjoy doing. Encouraging and promoting technical experimentation. I did a little bit of a help with the South Plainfield Amateur Radio Club. One of the things that they did, and one of the things that was focused in the newspaper article, was having kids build a little code practice oscillator, and then actually learn Morse code and send that. So they actually had to learn how to solder to kind of put this thing together. So I put a little video together so that they could present that in front of the kids, so they could see how to do it, and then they went and did it. So it was a way of supporting that activity. Okay, and obviously work with the other technical advisors and things like that as needed. I know a couple of the other technical coordinators in some of those surrounding areas that we can call on as resources as well. But again, small list of some of the responsibilities, but anything that comes down to, if you need technical assistance on something, reach out. If I don't know the answer, I'll find the right people. Okay. And bottom line is, what we're looking for is, I'd love to build even more people as technical specialists that we can keep on staff. And these are people that are kind of already have got some expertise. We've got them listed. So if someone calls me and wants to know about Arden, we go to Randy. Right? He's the guy. Okay. So Gordon, who's also a member of this club, is an expert in just about everything. So we can kind of point to him for a lot of things. But you can see some of the expertise here. I'm not going to read everybody here, but just at the bottom there, if there's a topic that you're really passionate about, that you like talking about, you like helping people about, let me know, and we can add you to the list. And it's always a good thing to have. We don't pester everybody very often. I think I've called on one or two of these guys once or twice in the last year and a half that I've been doing this. So it's not something that takes any of your time, but certainly it's a way of giving back, and sharing some of your knowledge with folks that might have some other questions and things like that. So that's really what my role is as the technical coordinator. It's kind of a fun title, and I kind of enjoy doing it. And glad that Rob and I guess John was also kind of pointing me your way or something when this all came. So, but again, feel free to reach out to me if there's anything that I can do for you, any questions that you have, and thanks.
Okay, another big thing. Healthy radio clubs are vital to the future of amateur radio. Sometimes the first exposure anyone gets to the amateur radio community is through one of the local clubs. The ARRL recognizes this and has an ARRL affiliated club program. As an ARRL affiliated club, you get some benefits. You get to participate in the group liability insurance, which makes liability insurance affordable for clubs. You get a listing on the ARRL website. You can have your Hamfest listed on the ARRL website. You get a discount as far as any kind of advertising in QST if you want to promote a Hamfest or some other kind of event. You can get access to mailing information, such as mailing labels if you want to do recruitment or advertise your event. And there's actually a person in the field organization that's in charge of outreach to clubs, and that is Lee Smith. And Lee, another FLARC member. Anything to say?
I'm really in the mode of really restarting, starting January type of stuff and reaching out to clubs. And just pulling together, there's 50 clubs theoretically. If you go on the website, you can see the number of people, about 1,600 people in clubs. But certainly, and as a ham, you can operate, you can actually operate quite easily outside of a club. But it's the club activity that really keeps people engaged year after year. That's really the importance of it.
Right. Youth activities. The ARRL also recognizes that the youth of today are the ham radio operators of tomorrow. So we wanted to make amateur radio relevant to their lifestyle. And we have a section youth coordinator. That is Scott Wiley, W-Y-1-L-I-E. He would be here, but his wife is on the cusp of giving birth. So he didn't want to be too far away from home. Scott is very active with the Boy Scouts. He's done several JOTA activities over the last couple of years here. He has done, he did a kind of a ham side kind of thing up for the eclipse when we had the solar eclipse. Him and the Ramapo group set up a station so that kids were able to operate. And he was on the short list for an ARRS contact, ARRS meaning amateur radio on the International Space Station. He was down to I think the last selection list, but unfortunately the school that he was working with ran into financial problems and they had to close their doors, so that just reset the counter on that. So now he's working with a new school, and hopefully for the next round he'll be able to start that up again. Official observers. Okay, so the official observer program was set up so that there were people who would, there were amateurs who signed up to be official observers. They would monitor the amateur bands and look for any kind of non-compliant activities and advise operators of what they were doing wrong in an effort to just, tell them, hey, you're doing something wrong. Let's correct it. Most times that worked just fine. Unfortunately, there's a lot of intrusion from non-amateurs, so that actually, doesn't work. Recently, we just had a case where someone had set up an Echolink node right in the middle of the 2-meter satellite band. It was handled very professionally. We got together, we sent him a letter. He received the letter, he called me up, he says, no problem, we'll take care of it. It's down, we're moving it to a new frequency. So that's, a success story there. We've got another person who's operating in the middle of a satellite band who's just sending out a beacon that says Mario. No call sign, just Mario. One of the observers was able to actually DF it down to a house, and lo and behold, there's a ham that lives in there whose name is Mario. So we're sending him a letter, and I'm confident that'll get corrected. So our official observer coordinator is Jerry Miller, AA2ZJ. Now, the official observer program is actually sunsetting in favor of a new program called the Volunteer Monitor Program. The Volunteer Monitor Program is actually going to move out of the field organization, and it's going to be largely administered by headquarters. The reason for this is it is going to be more aligned with the FCC. So the intent is to have a fixed number of volunteer monitors that will be trained, that will have updated training, and with a focus on evidentiary rules. Evidentiary, so rules of evidence. So the idea being that since the ARRL Enforcement Division has been effectively decimated, they're actually ripe for a partnership with amateur radio. But it has to be handled very professionally. So the idea is that the section manager will recommend someone and headquarters will decide whether or not that person is qualified and will go through the training. The idea being that they will be able to, if direction finding or something like that, be able to collect evidence to say this person is causing malicious interference, and here is the evidence I've gathered, and then the Enforcement Bureau can go ahead and pick it up from there and continue with trying to remediate the problem. So that's been on the burner probably for about 2 years right now. Everyone tells me it's getting really close. So, but for the meantime, we're still operating under the official observer rules. And that's really all I have for tonight. These are just some Northern New Jersey resources. We have a website, NNJ.ARRL.org. We're on Facebook. There's also an Aries group on Facebook and also on Twitter. So, questions?
Well done.
Thank you, sir.
Don't go. There's more. There's more.
Wait, there's more.
There's more. As is our tradition, okay? Our thanks, okay, to you, okay, for being a speaker. You need to turn around, so turn around. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for a great presentation.
Always a pleasure coming here. It's not snow.
So with that, okay, we're making coffee, okay, because we actually went through a pot. Really made, me look like a liar tonight, so we'll never go through it, right? But from there, obviously there's a couple cookies, there's coffee, there's tea. Help yourself, okay, and happy holidays, and see you in 2019, okay? Club's open next week.